From my perspective, we tend to look for a city, a 21st century city, to be somewhere that you can, that encourages you to live, work, play, eat, and everything in the city. So that it actually, I look at it from the sort of inside outwards, and expect a city to actually be able to cater for all of those needs. And if you can look around the country, you can see cities that don't do some of those. The concept of actually living in the city doesn't actually happen in every city in the country, and certainly not in the cores.
Not so many years ago, perhaps as few as 2 or 3, there was a lot of talk around clustering, and that seems like a word that's absent from the debate these days. Is that something whose time has come and gone? The idea of creating clusters for certain industries.
If you put all of your eggs in one basket of a cluster of industry or service area, then if that industry goes into difficulty, your whole offering is in difficulty. And what we see is knowledge is very much a key part of the Scottish economy, but you see that knowledge going into different industries, and I've mentioned those in Edinburgh. You could look at the other cities in the Alliance and see that although we might have some predominant players, none of us are going to be a one-trick pony in this challenging kind of land of enterprise.
There could be clustering around something logical, which is the ability for communities, whether it's businesses and residential, to actually develop around something
clustering
like that.
Around infrastructure rather than by sector.
Yeah, that would seem to make more sense.
But what at least I'm seeing now is the public wants to take risk off of its balance sheet and basically give it to the private entities. So I think it's really a question of risk and who's willing to take risk in a development project. In many cases, the public just is unwilling to do it because it's burdened by pensions or it's burdened by other costs that are fixed, and it doesn't want to take on development as a job. And in most cases, I would argue that private entities have a much deeper appetite for risk. So public-private has a very different, connotation depending if the public is very active in trying to develop on its own, or in the case of our project, and certainly in the case of recent projects, at least in the United States, where the public is basically saying, here's the land, you develop it, here's some criteria, but make it great. Because in many ways, I don't know if I'm speaking to the converted here, but the private sector can do a better job than the public sector when it comes to development. The public does a great job on infrastructure, does a great job in public space in some cases, but when it comes to development, you really want to have experts do it, and I'm not convinced that government is necessarily a great developer.
Are partnerships inevitable, necessary, and always going to be the case as we create 21st century cities here in the UK?
I think partnerships can take many different forms, from the kind of joint ventures that Michael's talking about, through to just working closer together in a more structured and sensible way. So, for example, some of the projects around the TIF initiatives that have been going on for the last 3 or 4 years, they're not joint ventures in your traditional sense, but they are the public sector working with private sector to understand what is it that's going to unlock the developments that you're looking to make in a particular area that we as a public sector are best placed to deliver and bring forward, recognizing that actually once that's unlocked, we all can benefit from that, and there's a genuine private sector upside from the unlocking, and mechanisms like TIF or the work that's been done in Edinburgh around the accelerator model enables that working together, but also unlocking the benefits for everybody, and putting a bit like the risk, where risk best placed, who is best to take what particular parts of a project forward. But let's not just do public realm or infrastructure for the sake of it. Let's think, what's that going to deliver? What is that going to unlock? How can that benefit the private sector? Who can generate jobs? Who can generate taxes that can come back into the public sector, that's then made that sort of circle more complete?
So looking at how technology can actually make people's lives better, it is something that we're very keenly aware of, particularly for this next generation of folks who technology isn't a second language. So people in this room may be afraid of checking in wherever they go, or having a shop follow you, or give you push notifications on sales. But people who are 22, 23 have no such fear. They have no problem being followed as long as they get a benefit from it. So seeing how technology will embed itself in our lives, living, working, and playing.